At the start of our story, a U.S. Army fighter plane crashes onto a desolate island, and the pilot parachutes safely to the ground. Seconds later, he spots a Japanese fighter jet hurtling downward, and the Japanese pilot also lands safely. The moment they lock eyes, they draw their weapons and attack each other on sight, because World War II was raging at the time, and America and Japan were locked in a brutal conflict. They launch into a desperate fistfight, trading blows all the way up to the edge of a steep cliffside. Just as the Japanese pilot is about to deliver a fatal blow to the American soldier, two colossal hands enter the frame, and a mountain-sized gorilla rises directly in front of them, leaving both men completely frozen in shock. The scene then shifts to the exterior of the White House in Washington, D.C., in the year 1973, where we meet Bill, the leader of an organization called Monarch. Bill is pitching an influential U.S. senator, asking for official clearance to launch an expedition to that same mysterious island, which he discovered through satellite imaging. Bill wants to conduct a massive scientific investigation on the island, but he needs a highly trained military escort and government funding, which is why he is asking the senator for help. The senator flatly refuses to give him soldiers or money, believing this is just an ordinary, worthless island and that spending money on a research trip would be a complete waste. Refusing to back down, Bill shows the senator secret files and classified evidence, explaining that this island harbors unbelievable mysteries that have never been revealed to the world, and claiming that being the first to uncover them will make them rich overnight. Bill warns the senator that they must move immediately because Russian intelligence has already discovered the island. He emphasizes that if the Americans do not act fast, the Russian team will land first and take complete control of the territory. The moment he hears about Russia, the senator agrees and hands over official authorization. Bill immediately assembles a strong military unit commanded by Captain Packard and also recruits an elite tracker named James to guide them through the treacherous terrain. The entire team boards a massive ship and sets sail toward the mysterious island. Sitting on the deck, the soldiers are in high spirits, enjoying the beautiful view of the sea, completely unaware that their trip is about to turn into extreme danger, because the island they are approaching is a living hell. The team also brings along a professional female photographer named Mason so she can capture exclusive pictures of the terrain for the world. After traveling for days, the ship finally arrives close to the island, prompting Bill to call Captain Packard over, pointing out a terrifying wall of storms standing dead ahead and completely blocking their path. With no other choice, Captain Packard agrees to proceed, and the team piles into several military helicopters to fly straight into the raging storm. The moment they reach the center, violent winds smash into the choppers, shaking them severely while loud lightning strikes all around them. Thanks to the skills of the pilots, they survive the deadly storm and break through to the other side. The view waiting for them leaves everyone completely stunned as they see a beautiful green paradise that none of them had ever seen before. The moment they arrive, the team wastes no time and begins their assignments, dropping powerful explosive charges onto the ground to trigger seismic waves and test whether the soil below is hollow or solid rock. This continuous bombing causes massive explosions that burn the forest and kill many innocent animals. The greedy team feels no remorse or pity, instead celebrating that their mission is going perfectly. Right at that second, an unseen force rips a massive tree out of the ground from deep within the jungle and hurls it straight into one of the choppers, causing it to instantly crash. This sudden attack terrifies the entire team, and while they are trying to understand what could uproot a tree and throw it at them, a colossal hand drops from the sky, crushing a second helicopter like a toy and smashing it into the dirt. Immediately after, they look up to see a mountain-sized gorilla standing right in front of them, whose name is Kong, the undisputed king of the island. For a few moments, Kong stands completely still without making an aggressive move, his body language warning the army to stop dropping bombs in his kingdom so he won't harm them. But the arrogant captain views Kong as just a wild animal, underestimates him, and orders his entire team to open fire. The helicopters unleash a heavy hail of bullets directly at Kong, but the bullets bounce off his thick skin like mosquito bites, causing no damage at all. This disrespect drives Kong into an absolute fury, and he launches a savage counterattack, using his bare hands to smash the helicopters out of the sky and destroy them. After wiping out the helicopters, Kong turns around and walks back into the jungle. Captain Packard stares after him with pure hatred and a desire for revenge, consumed by the fact that the beast just killed many of his soldiers in the blink of an eye. Meanwhile, the surviving members of the team are scattered across different parts of the deep jungle, prompting James, the tracker, to navigate the wilderness until he regroups with a handful of survivors to push forward together. On the other side of the jungle, a furious Captain Packard marches straight up to Bill, presses the barrel of his rifle against Bill's chest, and demands to know exactly what kind of living hell he dragged them into. With nowhere left to run, Bill confesses the truth, explaining that exactly 30 years ago, he and his research team were sailing the ocean when they lost their bearings and shipwrecked onto this cursed island, only for a massive monster to ambush their ship and slaughter everyone on board right before his eyes, leaving Bill as the sole survivor to return home and alert the government about this hidden nightmare. Bill states with regret that at the time, not a single person in civilization believed his wild claims. Right then, he made a promise to himself that one day he would return to this island and bring its hidden truths to light to prove it to the entire world. He wanted people to know that massive, ancient creatures still survive on our planet, and if they ever reach civilized areas, the existence of mankind will be wiped out in an instant. This was why he wanted to warn the government in advance, so everyone could be 100% prepared to fight back before these monsters attack us. The scene then shifts to the other scattered group, moving forward through the jungle with James. As they walk and arrive at the bank of a mountain river, a massive water buffalo appears right in front of them. Seeing this strange, gigantic creature, everyone in the group freezes in fear and hurriedly point their rifles at the animal for self-defense. However, the guide, James, calmly orders everyone to lower their weapons, assuring them that this peaceful creature will not harm them on its own. Following James's instruction, they remove their hands from the triggers and the massive animal slowly turns around and walks toward the opposite bank of the river. Meanwhile, Captain Packard's group continues forward through another part of the forest. As they enter a dark and thick bamboo grove, a terrifying incident happens in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a sharp branch, looking like a bamboo stalk, drops from above, piercing straight through a soldier's face and killing him instantly before he can even cry out in pain. When the rest of the soldiers look up in terror, they are completely shocked to realize that it is not an ordinary bamboo branch, but rather the leg of a giant mountain-sized spider that is as tall as the trees. The man-eating spider then launches a savage attack on the remaining soldiers. To save their lives, the soldiers continuously fire heavy rounds at the monster's body, but the regular bullets bounce off its hard shell, doing no damage at all. Seeing the danger, Captain Packard smartly yells to his men, ordering them to stop shooting its back and aim directly at its leg joints. On the captain's order, everyone works together to cut the spider's thin legs, causing the monster to lose its balance and crash helplessly to the ground. Taking immediate advantage of this moment, they all fire continuously at its head, finally killing the spider. Surviving this attack, the men realize to their core that this jungle is not like any ordinary forest, and a death trap awaits them every single second. The scene then shifts to James's group, who walk further through the jungle until they suddenly stumble upon a quiet indigenous village in the middle of the woods. Surprisingly, the entire village is completely silent and appears deserted. While Mason is busy taking pictures of the indigenous village, a strange sight suddenly catches her camera lens. A living human is standing right against the color of the mud wall. Before they know it, many more people emerge like shadows from behind the surrounding walls and bushes. In fact, these are the native inhabitants of this island who have been living in this primitive jungle, isolated from the outside world for many years. Within moments, these natives completely surround James's entire group from all sides. Seeing the danger, James's men point their rifles at the natives in self-defense. The situation becomes so tense that a bloody battle could start at any moment. But right then, an old man with a long beard pushes through the crowd of natives and stands right in front. This man's name is Marlowe. Yes, he is the same US soldier who parachuted onto the island during World War II at the very beginning of our story. He has been trapped on this island for 28 long years, living his life alongside these natives. Marlowe steps forward and reassures James's group, telling them to lower their weapons because these people will not harm them at all. Finding comfort in Marlowe's words, they all removed their hands from the triggers. Meanwhile, Marlowe is overjoyed to see them, as he has not seen a single person from the civilized outside world in his 28 years of exile. The scene shifts again, and we see another unfortunate soldier who became completely separated from his group after the bombing. As he walks through the jungle and goes to the bank of a mountain river to drink water out of extreme thirst, he suddenly hears a strange rustling sound inside the forest. Before he can realize anything, the mountain-sized gorilla, Kong, stands right before his eyes. Seeing the monster so close, the soldier freezes in absolute terror and quickly hides behind a large rock to save his life. Kong actually sees the hidden soldier clearly, but instead of attacking, he quietly ignores him and walks past. This event makes it clear that Kong does not attack humans randomly or without reason. Kong then slowly sits down in the cold river water and looks at the deep wound on his arm caused by the bombs dropped by the humans earlier. Kong's face twists in pain, a severe suffering brought upon him by the greedy humans of modern civilization. As Kong washes his wound and drinks water from the river with his cupped hands, a gigantic monster octopus views Kong as weak and suddenly rises from the water to attack him. Within moments, the octopus wraps its toxic tentacles tightly around Kong's entire body. But overpowering Kong is no easy task. With a violent jerk of his massive hands, Kong grabs the living octopus by its head and crushes it flat against the rocks. Not only that, Kong tears off a whole tentacle of the dead octopus with his teeth and begins to eat it raw. He then drags the rest of the body toward the jungle to store it for his dinner. Watching this entire scene live from behind the rock, the soldier realizes to his core just how terrifying and incredibly powerful Kong truly is. Meanwhile, Marlowe takes James and the rest of his group to a massive abandoned shipwreck deep in the forest. The moment they step inside the ship, James and his companions are shocked to see that the natives have transformed this entire boating structure into a sacred shrine or temple where they worship regularly. The most stunning thing is that on the stone walls of the temple, the natives have drawn a massive painting of Kong using charcoal and natural colors, whom they worship day and night as the ultimate god of this island. Here, Marlowe explains to James's entire group that these natives actually worship and respect Kong as a god because Kong is our only protector. If Kong were not on this island, not a single one of us would be alive today. In fact, deep beneath the soil of this island are terrifying ancient man-eating lizards called Skullcrawlers hidden away. They are extremely violent and wait every single second to suck human blood. But solely out of fear of Kong, those monstrous lizards do not easily dare to come above ground to attack us. Marlowe then shares a tragic history, explaining that Kong is actually the very last survivor of his kind. This is because those ravenous lizards from underground once launched group attacks and brutally slaughtered Kong's entire family, and now they hide in tunnels beneath the earth just to save their own lives from Kong. After hearing everything, James asks Marlowe why Kong launched such a brutal attack on their helicopters. In response, Marlowe clearly tells them that when they arrived on this island with their helicopters, they started dropping non-stop bombs on the ground without thinking, which killed many innocent animals in the forest. Seeing this destruction of his kingdom, Kong became furious and counterattacked them. Marlowe drops another shocking information, stating that the intense vibrations from the bombs they dropped actually caused several killer lizards to rise up from underground. But Kong thought alone and killed every single one of those monsters. If Kong had not crushed them at that moment, those man-eaters would have chewed them up alive and quietly gone back underground. Marlowe then turns the question on James, asking what they were looking for when they came to this cursed island. James confesses everything, saying that they came here to research the hidden secrets of this island, but now they have felt its true reality to their bones. Therefore, it is best for them to leave this living hell and return to civilization as quickly as possible. But the problem is that every single helicopter they had for their return has been smashed to pieces by Kong. Because of this, they now have to cross the jungle on foot to reach the exact northern edge of the island, where a large rescue ship is waiting for them. Hearing this suicidal plan, Marlowe holds his head in distress, saying that if they try to walk through this dense jungle to the north, it will take them several weeks, which is extremely dangerous. However, the good news is that he has an old motorboat, but the only problem is that the boat has a few minor technical issues. If everyone works together to fix it, they can reach that northern edge very quickly by river. James instantly agrees to Marlowe's smart proposal, and the whole group gets to work repairing the boat. Meanwhile, the photographer, Mason, takes advantage of the break to snap some beautiful pictures of the indigenous people. Seeing their own smiling faces on the camera screen, the simple natives become overjoyed because it's the first time in their lives they've ever seen a modern device like a camera. But right then, cutting through the happy atmosphere, the painful scream of a creature from the nearby river suddenly catches Mason's ears. The moment Mason hears that strange crying sound, she wastes no time and runs directly toward the riverbank. There, she sees a small baby of that giant water buffalo trapped under the wreckage of a heavy military helicopter, struggling in extreme pain. Seeing this heartbreaking sight, Mason feels deeply moved and tries her best to pull the heavy iron chopper away all by herself, but she does not have enough strength alone. Right then, a massive hand miraculously drops from above, yanks the heavy chopper away in a single jerk, flings it into the distance, and frees the innocent baby. This noble act was done by none other than the living monster Kong himself. Seeing Kong so close, Mason freezes in absolute fear, but instead of harming her, Kong looks at her with eyes full of irritation and anger before slowly walking away into the jungle. Reading his eyes, Mason clearly understands that Kong is extremely furious with them because their bombing is the reason he is now bleeding and wounded. Meanwhile, the technical issues with the boat are fully fixed, making it completely ready to travel along the river. After living peacefully with these natives through all their ups and downs for 28 long years, Marlowe bids everyone a tearful farewell for the last time. He then boards the boat with the rest of James's group and sets sail toward the northern edge. The scene shifts again, returning to the lonely soldier who became separated from the group, as he sits down to rest on a cut tree stump in the middle of the woods out of exhaustion. But shortly after sitting down, the tree stump suddenly begins to move in a strange way. Feeling this odd vibration beneath him, the soldier leaps straight to his feet. He is completely shocked to realize that it is not an ordinary dead tree, but a strange ancient creature disguised as a tree. The strange creature then viciously moves toward the soldier to tear him apart and eat him. Not backing down, the soldier hurriedly raises his rifle and fires continuously at the animal. Surprisingly, the bullets do almost no damage to the creature, but it shields its head and suddenly turns around to flee in the opposite direction. In reality, the strange creature used its sixth sense to realize that an even bigger bringer of death was approaching. As the soldier curiously looks back, a giant prehistoric lizard rising from underground arrives in the blink of an eye and swallows the living soldier whole in a single bite. Meanwhile, the remaining people on the boat are moving forward along the river in high spirits. As the boat travels, Marlowe shares the story of the life he left behind 28 years ago with one of James's companions, speaking with deep emotion, explaining that in the outside world, he has a beautiful wife and a young son. He notes that when he left home to fight in World War II 28 years ago, his son was only 1 year old. He states that by now, his boy must have grown into a young man, and adds that the only remaining wish of his broken life is to see his son's face with his own eyes before he dies. After running the boat all night, dawn breaks, by which time they have traveled a massive distance along the river. Right then, luck favors them as the old radio signal on the boat miraculously starts working again. A soldier on the boat immediately manages to contact Captain Packard's unhinged group on the other side via wireless. As a result, both teams find out each other's exact locations in the forest, and the soldier on the boat reassures the captain, telling them that they will reach their position very quickly along the river. While everyone on the boat is overjoyed after contacting the captain's group, a giant monster bat drops out of the sky like a hawk, clinches a companion from the boat and its talons, and flies off into the air in the blink of an eye. Right before the eyes of the remaining people, the killer bat tears their fellow soldier's body to pieces in midair. This terrifyingly brutal sight chills everyone to the bone. No longer feeling safe on the river for a single second, they hurriedly anchor the boat on the riverbank. They decide to travel the rest of the way on foot, and after walking a short distance, they fortunately cross paths with the captain's main group in the forest. Once both teams gather together, the guide James tells the captain clearly that they should not waste another second and must head straight toward the rescue ship at the northern edge. But the arrogant Captain Packard completely ignores James's words and flatly refuses to return to the rescue ship. The captain stubbornly states that he must head straight west because one of his loyal soldiers named Chapman is stranded alone in that part of the forest. The poor captain does not know yet that Chapman has already gone down the stomach of that prehistoric lizard. Marlowe tries desperately to persuade the captain, begging him not to step into that western hell, explaining that the area is crawling with those killer underground lizards that will chew them alive the moment they see them. But the crazed captain holds his ground, refusing to leave his soldier behind under any circumstances. Left with no choice, the remaining people reluctantly follow the captain into that cursed western territory. As they walk and reach the far edge of the west, a massive deserted open plain appears before their eyes. But looking at that field fills everyone with a strange terror because the entire plain is scattered with the massive skeletons and skulls of prehistoric creatures that are as large as mountains. Marlowe then whispers to everyone that these bones belong to none other than Kong's parents and his entire lineage, who were brutally slaughtered by those giant lizards. As the entire team walks fearfully across this valley of death, a terrifying roar shakes the surrounding air and catches their ears. Hearing that sound, everyone runs in all directions to save their lives and manages to hide behind the massive skulls scattered across the field. Right then, a giant man-eating lizard breaks through the ground and appears before them. Moving very close to the hidden humans, the monster vomits a half-eaten human skull onto the dirt. Reading the name on the army badge attached to that skull sends a shock through James's system because it belongs to none other than Chapman, the very soldier the captain dragged the entire group into this death trap to find. As the terrifying lizard turns its head the other way to search for prey, James and the rest keep their heads down and try to escape, but their luck runs completely out as the cunning monster catches the scent of human bodies, blocks their path in the blink of an eye, and swallows another companion from the boat alive before they can even realize what happened. Seeing this fierce form of the lizard, everyone in the group works together and begins firing continuously at the monstrous creature. However, the cunning lizard takes advantage of the thick fog in the valley, smartly retreats, and disappears from their sight. By now, everyone knows very well that this monster will ambush them from behind the fog at any moment. Because of this, they all raise their rifles and stay alert in every direction. The moment the giant lizard rushes to jump on them a second time, a brave soldier uses his heavy machine gun to fire a barrage of bullets directly at the monster's chest. Surprisingly, even the heavy machine gun fire doesn't damage the monster at all. Instead, it uses its long, toxic tongue to wrap around the fighting soldier in a single jerk and swallows him alive. After finishing off that soldier, the killer lizard spots the photographer, Mason, and viciously chases after her. But Mason does not back down and manages to save her life by running and weaving through the gaps of the massive skeletons across the field. In the middle of this struggle, an accidental fire starts, causing the pockets of ancient toxic gas trapped beneath the skeletons to explode one after another like bombs. As a result, suffocating toxic gas spreads across the entire valley in the blink of an eye. The living man-eating lizard was enough to take their lives, but on top of that, the heat from the fire causes swarms of those killer bats to drop out of the sky and viciously attack the humans. In this extreme chaos, the guide James quickly puts on a gas mask, pulls his sharp sword from his back, and uses an acrobatic style to slash through the air, cutting down the toxic bats one by one. Meanwhile, the cunning lizard sees the humans distracted by the bat attacks and moves forward to launch its final assault. But right then, another brave soldier raises his flamethrower and begins spraying continuous lava-like fire directly into the monster's mouth. Burning and struggling in the intense heat of the blazing fire, the man-eating lizard finally dies. After the monster is killed, the remaining survivors from both teams gather together and agree on a final decision to leave this cursed hell immediately and head straight for the rescue ship. But the stubborn Captain Packard still holds his ground and yells that he will not move a single step without his missing soldier. James then pulls the blood-stained army badge of the dead soldier Chapman from his pocket, holds it in front of the captain's eyes, and says seriously that the person he is searching desperately is already a corpse inside the stomach of this monster. Seeing this undeniable proof of Chapman's death leaves the captain with no more excuses. Right then, the captain's true, ugly nature is revealed to everyone. In reality, the captain did not come to this hell to rescue his missing soldier. Rather, his actual goal was to kill Kong, the king of the island, once and for all. The captain shouts in pure anger before everyone, stating that the beast Kong crushed many of his loyal soldiers right before his eyes, and he will leave this island only after killing the gorilla with his own hands to take final revenge for his brother's blood. Marlowe warns the captain that killing Kong will cause the dangerous underground lizards to rise and kill everyone, but the arrogant captain refuses to listen. James decides his group is returning to the rescue ship, splitting the team into two factions. The soldiers reluctantly follow the captain, while James and Marlowe's group moves into the jungle. Soon, James's group gets completely lost. To find the ship's location, James and Mason climb a tall mountain. At the top, they unexpectedly come face to face with Kong. They stand completely still, but Mason gathers her courage and gently touches Kong's body. Kong accepts her touch calmly, proving to Mason that he does not intentionally harm humans. Meanwhile, Captain Packard and his soldiers set a trap by pouring fuel into the river and setting it on fire. When Kong arrives, the captain detonates buried landmines. The explosions severely wound Kong, causing him to collapse. As the captain prepares to blow him up with heavy bombs, James, Marlowe, and Mason arrive and hold the captain at gunpoint. James warns that if Kong dies, the giant prehistoric lizard hidden underground, the Skull Devil, will surface and kill them all. The captain orders his soldiers to shoot James's group, but the soldiers mutiny, realizing Kong is not the enemy. Suddenly, the giant monster breaks through the ground. Everyone flees except the captain, who stays to detonate the bombs. Before he can press the button, Kong regains consciousness and crushes the captain. A massive fight begins between Kong and the giant lizard. Taking advantage of the chaos, the group runs toward their boat, but the monster leaves Kong and chases them. A brave soldier tries to sacrifice himself by pulling the pins of two grenades to detonate them inside the monster's mouth. However, the clever monster uses its tail to swat him away, killing him instantly. As the monster lunges at Mason and the others, Kong hits it in the head with a massive rock. While the group escapes toward the boat, the brutal war between Kong and the giant lizard continues. The monster bites Kong's neck, but Kong uses the last of his strength to free himself and hurls the monster onto a nearby mountain. Undeterred, the monster charges back to attack Kong again. During the battle, Mason climbs a mountain peak and fires her flare gun to signal the rescue ship. Meanwhile, the giant lizard monster hurls Kong onto an old shipwreck, wrapping him tightly in heavy iron chains. As the monster moves in to kill the trapped Kong, a soldier fires his machine gun to distract it. The monster charges at the soldier, but Mason shoots it directly in the head with her flare gun. As the monster struggles in pain, Kong uses all his strength to shatter the chains. He grabs a massive iron propeller and hurls it straight through the monster's stomach, then smashes the beast against the mountain. The violent impact causes Mason to lose her balance and fall into the deep water below. Kong quickly scoops her up in his palm to save her from drowning, but the monster attacks him from behind. With Mason in one hand, Kong is forced to fight using only his free hand. The monster tries to bite the hand holding Mason, but a furious Kong drives his free hand straight down the monster's throat and rips its internal organs out, killing it once and for all. Kong gently opens his palm and finds Mason unresponsive. Thinking she is dead, he sadly lays her on the riverbank. However, Mason suddenly gasps for air, having only been unconscious. Relieved, Kong looks at her one last time and disappears into the jungle. James and Marlowe's group boards the boat and promise to keep the island and Kong a secret from the government to protect him from being caged and experimented on. In the final scene, Marlowe returns home after 28 years. His wife instantly recognizes him and embraces him in tears. He also reunites with his son, who was just a baby when he left. With his final wish fulfilled, the emotional story comes to an end.